Welcome to Coastside Poetry. Thanks to those of you who've zoomed in and those who are watching on YouTube. We meet either physically or virtually on the second Tuesday of every month to celebrate spoken poetry. I'm Diane Lee Mumi, and Steve Long and I are your hosts this evening. Our featured poet event is being recorded and streamed live onto YouTube as we speak. So anyone can look at it later. We'll be posting the link on our website, coastsidepoetry.org. This evening, we welcome East Bay poet Deborah Bachels Schmidt. Deborah has self-published 4 chapbooks, with the 5th, Stumbling into Grace, published by Orchard Street Press. With Mary Eichbauer, Johanna Ely, and Lori Haley, she's co-author of Love's Meditation, just released from Random Lane. Her poems have appeared in journals including Blue Unicorn, California Quarterly, the Ekphrastic Review, the Lyric, and the MacGuffin, and many others. She's earned awards from the Poets' Dinner, the Coolbrith Circle, Soul-Making Keats Literary Competition, and Orchard Street Press. And now, please welcome Deborah Schmidt.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. It's so wonderful to be here. Thank you to Coastside Poetry, to Diane and to Steve for making this happen, for inviting me to be here. And thank you, everyone, for coming. It's fabulous to see all of you people I knew were coming and some I didn't realize were coming. It's great that you're here. Thank you for coming. And I will be reading tonight from my chapbook, Stumbling into Grace, and from our newly released book, Love's Meditation. And I'll also be mixing in a few new and unpublished poems. These first poems are all from Stumbling into Grace, and I'd like to start with the titled poem. Stumbling into Grace. Such a clumsy child, they said, especially after that big growth spurt when the mapping of my feet and hands became such a mystery to me. It was years before I was at home in my body again, and only rarely, even then, did I truly feel graceful. But looking back, my life seems to be one big graceful stumble. Graceful with a hyphen, that is, and 2 L's. How else can I explain just happening to be there for the 2 girls twirling on the grass, or the moon falling across the night? If I spend the rest of my days practicing gratitude, it will never be enough for this stumbling into grace. Thank you. And the next one is a very early musical memory. Casals plays the cello suites. I am 3, and my mother has taken me to hear Casals play Bach. I have never seen a cello. Perhaps I have heard one, mixed up with all the other sounds on the records we play at home. So when a small man comes on stage and bows, holding his instrument to one side, I recognize this as his partner. And when he begins the first suite, drawing the mysterious bow across the strings, I am overwhelmed, enchanted. Surrounded by the plush stillness of the hall, I am drawn entirely within a golden cone of light and sound. Without knowing what I do, I slip from the velvet seat, which folds up behind me, prickling my legs and lifting my skirt, which my mother quickly smooths down, but this I barely notice. And stand, hands wrapped around the seat backs, face pressed into the gap, cheekbones resting on my knuckles. For now, the partners have become one, and I have no words for this dance, this soaring cascade of voices, glorious, ordered, inevitable as the sun, the stars, the moon we sing to every night. But I know it is my language. Thank you so much. This next poem is a new one related to the last. As you'll see, this subject still has a hold on me. This one is called When Casals Found the Bach Suites. For nearly 2 centuries, this music lay silent. How can that be? What does it mean for such a work of art to go dormant, to sleep on the page, waiting for the kiss of the bow on the strings? There must have been a great stillness of certain celestial chords reserved for just this. Maybe keeping forgotten music alive is one of the things angels do. And what were the 1,000 small happenstances, a trunk in an attic, a misplaced hat, a missed train, that led the 13-year-old Casals to that second-hand bookshop in Barcelona? The sweets must have begun to sing to him even as he opened the fragile copy. And then, what a time of discovery, of recognition so profound that it brought tears to his eyes, kept him awake at night. He practiced them every day for 10 years before he felt ready to perform them. By then, he had made them so fully his own that he, his cello, and the Bach were one, a unity of spirit in motion, a dance between discipline and expression so complete, so freshly realized in each moment that the promise of the long silence was at last fulfilled. Thank you so much, everyone. Going back to Stumbling into Grace, I'm going to read another musical one. This one inspired by something that really happened at an open rehearsal of the San Francisco Symphony. The orchestra was playing I believe it's the second movement of the Berlioz Symphonie Fantastique, entitled Scène au Champ, which means scene in the country. Scène au Champ. Conducted in a dreamy 6, with 5 beats softly pulsing on one plane, the 6th a gentle lift, our shepherd pipes his plaintive call, ambiguous in key and meter both. An echo sounds, as if another shepherd answers from beneath his tree across the fields, an octave higher, faithfully reflecting every tone. The English horn repeats his melody, but now he flats the 3rd. And when you think all has been changed by that one note, he stays, continuing to play beneath his far-off friend. There is such magic in the blending of their parts, both time and key defined at last, our waiting hearts warmed open by the blossoming of harmony. A pause, their calls resume, made rich and subtle by appoggiaturas and chromatic passing tones. And now the strings begin to faintly underlie the reeds with tremolos, which surge like looming storm before the piece subsides into the rustic calm it opened with, and flute and strings begin the lilting central theme. The prelude is no longer than a minute, yet in that brief span, it conjures up a mythic world for us to wander in, a land and time apart, horizons wide and twilight long. It is a miracle, this sunset shepherd song. Its true, exquisite end, the unscored moment when our offstage oboist comes quietly to his seat, slipping in between the cellos and bassoons, and as he passes, leaving lightly on the cheek and shoulder of his counterpart a swift caress in tender thanks for this most perfect of duets. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm going to read one more from Stumbling into Grace. This one is an armchair travel poem. I love traveling, but I actually rarely do it, mostly because of the carbon footprint. But I love imagining myself into various locations. And this one was the Yipeng Festival, the Sky Lantern Festival in Chiang Mai, Thailand, which I watched on YouTube. So, sky lanterns. Dusk deepens, and the full moon flames white in a soft aura. In the company of hundreds, all carrying komloi, she walks with her lover toward the Narawat Bridge. On their young skin, the air weighs moist and warm, sweet with incense, full of music and voices. They stop to write a prayer on their lantern, people flowing around them. The crowd comes to rest at the night market near the temple. Holding the paper shell by its bamboo rim, they kindle the waxy ring and wait for the magical moment when the air inside heats to buoyancy and the lantern pulls out of their gentle grasp to lift moonward, joining the countless others that drift past the temple spires, golden against the black of sky. Rising vertically at first, they lose momentum and are taken by a slow current that makes them swim together like phosphorescent fish across the darkness. Dwindling as they recede, they become a constellation, then a galaxy, the radiance and hope that each one of us always carries, now made visible. Thank you. Thanks so much. I'm going to move to Love's Meditation. We're so thrilled with this book, and our publisher is here tonight. Welcome, Bob. So glad you're here. Just so happy with everything about this, the artwork, the layout, everything. And I'm going to start with Ariadne, which is inspired by a needlepoint work by the artist Mary Frances Kelly Poe. Ever since the tongue-cut Philomela wove her tale into a tapestry and sent it to her sister, women, silenced, have spoken in such ways. And Ariadne may have been a weaver. It may have been some yarn from her own store she wound into a ball to help her lover defeat the Cretan maze. So it is fitting that a needlewoman should honor Ariadne with her work, a labyrinth of interlocking stitches in 7 by 7 squares. 7 for the fair Athenian maidens, 7 for the doomed Athenian youths, 7 for the labyrinthine courses, and 7 for her crown. I like to think that Theseus still loved her and grieved for her beneath his darkling sails. I hope that she found joy with Dionysus, who made her crown of stars. Across the center of the piece, a spiral is subtly pierced where ends of stitches meet, and softly shadowed by a misty purple against the rose and gold. It seems to wheel through mythic time, connecting our lives with those of all the women who have gathered up their life force and their courage to tell what must be told. Thank you. Thanks so much. The next one is called Evensong. It's also from Love's Meditation. And it's a blank verse sonnet with an epigraph from Rilke, from Berger, which I translated as follows. For isn't this the time when it's essential to make connections subtle and devout, strong as they are, It's that the earth is strong, and such is her plaint, that we hardly know her. Evensong. So I have lived beside this redwood tree for half my life now, ever conscious of its generous, strong spirit, the way it holds the earth between its toes, the wheeling stars between its fingers. Yet until this year, I never knew that every day at dusk it holds a flock of birds. After the time of gleaning seeds and darting after insects, they come together, warblers, finches, sparrows, to sit as one, these singers, silently among the upper branches, while the light lies still and golden, and incoming wisps of fog turn rosy in the lowering sun. It is a winged and feathered way of prayer. Thank you. Thank you. And this one, last one from Love's Meditation, Angels in Pittsburgh. It's a suite of 5 poems, and each one carries an epigraph from the Hebrew prayer, the B'Shem Hashem, which is an invocation of angelic protection, sometimes sung as a lullaby and sometimes as a blessing to welcome children into the world. Angels in Pittsburgh. 1. Mimini Michael. May Michael be at my right hand. She flies through the country of clouds to be with her son, soaring above an ocean of blinding foam, and then descending past fantastical, lofty towers, spun on an unimaginable scale, yet near enough to touch. All softness, yet seemingly substantial enough to climb on, to sit upon, dangling her feet into cotton candy canyons miles deep. The clouds separate, casting ink-blot shadows over the cruel embroidery of woods, fields, and curving iridescent streams. The earth below so rain-washed and verdant, it seems to lie beneath a glassy pool. Then the plain banks, sun sparking a rainbow on one silver wing, and drops toward the city of bridges, the city at the shining confluence of 3 rivers. 2. U mismo li, Gabriel. At my left, Gabriel. They walk in the cemetery, a place so still and green, overhung with spreading dogwood and horse chestnut in bloom, wild violets and creeping ivy underfoot. Here the angels are serene sentinels, neither male nor female beneath the sculpted folds of their robes and the stony arcs of their impossible, enviable wings. Their downturned eyes convey a pure inwardness, the look of a mother contemplating her unborn child. One holds a lily like a pen, as if about to inscribe a fragrant message on the air. One, like a seated Greek goddess, holds a palm branch and Erato's wreath of roses. Another, darkened with age, face, hands, and feet eroded, seems to be slowly receding into the spirit world, her expression of tranquil faith, inviting all to follow, unafraid. 3. Umile fanai, Uriel. Before me, Uriel. Her favorite sits with bowed head, hands loosely clasped below her knees, her mane an intricate knot of whorls, carved first by the sculptor and then by the slow forces of water and time. Her hair and robe are stained a shadowy mauve, while her pensive face remains pale and her wings pristine, deeply incised, not with feathers, but with sheaves of unfurling tulips. 4, Umea Chorai, Raphael. And behind me, Raphael. She thinks of the angel blessing sung to welcome children into this world. She thinks of her firstborn who has come so far, who has won through to his, no, she reminds herself, their own elegant androgyny, their own gentle way of being. Their angels are not these angels of stone, but flesh and blood angels. Friends become family. Angels who play video games, who know every verse of Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah and how to make mountain pies. Tall, dark-haired, blue-eyed Leah with her big heart and warrior spirit. Tiny Jocelyn, quiet and radiant. Red-bearded Chris, capable and calm. Lovely June, her face like the waking moon. 5. Ve'al Roshi Shekhinah. All around us is the divine. Now, they tell her, they are entering a time of such happiness that they almost cannot believe it. But this happiness is real and true, she says to them, and you do deserve it. They turn to her with a divine smile, their eyes brimming. What is this stirring in the air? On her right hand, at her left hand, before her and behind her, a gift of mercy, a golden vibration, a light too bright to look upon, an alignment of molecules toward healing, possibility, joy. She does not believe in the bones of saints, but she believes in miracles. She believes in angels. Thank you so much, everyone. And I'd like to end this set with a couple of seasonal poems, unpublished. The first one is called Paperwhites. Each year, she gives us paperwhites, blooming even in these brief, dark days. 6 pristine petals, lifted wings of milky light and feathered shadow. Deep in winter, we hunger for such radiance, such fragrant flight, such golden-eyed joy. And I forgot to tell you, that one is actually linked haiku, 3 stanzas, but the 4th stanza has an extra line of 4 syllables thrown in. The 3rd line is kind of extra. And this last one, thank you, is a related one named Narcissus poeticus, for the ancient species of narcissus that grows in Greece and may have been the very one that Narcissus was turned into. It's the one that Virgil wrote about. Narcissus poeticus. The narcissus buds call me to come see how they swell in their seamed chrysalis. But the dog scratches at the door and I have to turn down the soup. When I come back, it has already happened. Oh, to have been here for the very moment when the veined spathe split and the pale nested bud slid up and out, closed and inscrutable, yet just about to open. 2 blossoms have fledged and 2 more creamy cones are nosing toward the light. How can so many angels have fit into so small a space? I imagine them pressed against each other, waiting, giggling in the dark. Thank you so much, everyone. You guys are a great audience to read to. I love it. Thank you.
Appreciation. Let's all unmute and make noises of appreciation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Excellent.
Thank you.
Lovely, lovely, lovely.
Thank you.
Good
Thank you.
stuff.
Deborah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Deborah, hey, Deborah.
Love your angels.
Delicate thought.
I'm going to go look them all up now again.
All by name.
Beautiful work. Oh, thank you so much. It's great to hear your voices.
So soft, delicate.
Mm.
Wonderful reading, Deborah, and wonderful work.
Oh, thank you, Bob.
I'd like to introduce, this is Jamie, who is a young poet who came to watch you, Deborah, and she said, this is very inspiring.
Oh, great. Hi, Jamie. Welcome. Hi, Lynn. So great to see you.
She picked the right night.
She did. I've never heard you before, Deborah, and you can't see me because I don't, for whatever reason, don't have a camera working, but it was an absolutely stunning reading.
Thank you so much. That was Philip, right?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm glad you could be here.
Me too.
Excuse me, someone has like a radio or something playing?
Yeah. Thank you. Oh, I really, truly enjoyed that, Deborah. I'd never read or heard any of your work before. And I'm in love with Narcissus too. And I wish I could have written those poems. Those were great.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm glad to meet a fellow Narcissus lover.
I've got one about Narcissus, but quite different. And I love Hebrew inclusion and the about the angels. I'm a believer in angels too. So, very spiritual as well as poetical and magic and transfiguring.
Oh, thank you so much. I hope you read your Narcissus poem.
Oh, maybe I will next time. Yeah.
I love the softness, the gentleness of your poetry. It's so delicate.
Right.
And you observe little things so deeply and with such variety.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Norma.
Deborah, the imagery is, it's just magical. It's full of miracles, actually. It's so precisely considered, about bringing us to where you're going as a poet. It's so successful in doing that. It's absolutely enticing. What a pleasure. What a pleasure to hear you reading it.
Wow, thank you so very much. I'm so glad you could be here tonight. I think that is
Me too.
That's the magic that other poets have created for me too. So it really just makes me so happy to hear that it worked.
There's such congruence in your poetry between when you're reading it. The depth of your voice and the richness of it really seems to match the depth of imagery and the depth of research that you've done, or contemplation, however you research angels, but they match, and it's a very, very, how shall I say, fertile kind of combination. So always good to hear you.
Thank you so much, Mary Susan. I must say, I used to have a higher speaking voice, and now as I'm aging, I think I have vocal nodes or something. So if I pitch it too high, it's really gravelly and inconsistent. So I have to, go in the basement to get consistent.
Maturation.
My wife, who's a singer, says that most of us speak in too high a voice anyway, that it's a condition societally.
Oh, interesting. That is so interesting. Wow.
Deborah,
can you especially true of women, but it's true of all of us.
Deborah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you, Deborah, for those poems. I really enjoyed the.
Thanks so much for coming, Dan. I'm glad it worked out. Dan is in Yosemite, and we were worried that they're with this huge dump that's about to happen, right?
Oh boy, I tell you. Talk about stopping by the woods on a snowy evening. Wow.
Yeah. If you can even get out your door to go stomping.
And Deborah, what white flowers do you have behind you? Are they by any chance paper whites?
Yes, that is actually the paper whites I was writing about. Yeah.
There's congruence for you.
Yeah.
And it would be lovely, Deborah, if you could post any links you have for your books in the chat.
Sure, I will do that.
And we
Thank you.
will save that.
Great. I'll do that. Thanks.
Yes. So thanks again so much. We'll stop recording in a moment. Those of you in the Zoom room, please stay online if you'd like to take part in the open mic. And thanks to all you YouTube listeners. Please tune in for our next regular Coastside Poetry event on Tuesday, February 13th, when we'll welcome another Bay Area poet and Coastside Poetry regular, Johanna Ely. So thank you so much again for joining us at Coastside Poetry. Thank you again, Deborah, just for your presence and for creating this sort of yet another bubble of wonderful poetry for all of us. So,
thank you. It's been such a pleasure to be here. Thanks,
you.
Diane.
Thank you for helping to keep the lamps of poetry burning. Oh. Okay.